You know, a good friend from South Carolina, Assistant Democratic Leader, Congressman Jim Clyburn. He's also the national co-chair for Joe Biden's 2024 reelection campaign. Hey, Jim, it's always great talking to you. So you were around in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 when the Republicans raised the debt ceiling, attached spending bills to it. I'm just curious, what do you think about now that they've blown another $8 trillion hole in the national debt, that they're now running out, holding these press conferences saying they're shocked, they're stunned, they're deeply saddened that the debt ceiling's being raised again, when they did it 3 times without any cuts?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Joe, Mika, Al, all the rest of you guys. Look, this is hypocrisy. I think that's the best word for it. He's made it very clear that if he were president, he would understand the sanctity of maintaining the good faith and credit of the United States of America. Now that he's no longer president, he doesn't care whether or not the country defaults. So that's the hypocrisy that's in this. Look, when we were giving him what he needed to raise the debt limit, he was also increasing the debt. A $2 trillion tax cut that went straight to the debt, didn't pay for it at all. And so what we're attempting to do now is raise this debt limit to accommodate all of those expenses that he ran up as president. And so I don't understand how my good friends on the other side of the aisle can keep a straight face, knowing full well that we are at the limit in large measure because of what happened for the 4 years of the Trump administration. If you look at what has been happening with this administration, this president has increased a lot of spending. We paid for it. We didn't run up the debt. We paid for the Rescue Act. We paid for the infrastructure bill. These things we believe in pay-go, and we have been paying as we have gone along, and that's what we're trying to do now. Raise the debt limit to accommodate those expenses that got run up when the 45 was president.
Congressman, good morning. You are, of course, one of the most respected voices in your Democratic caucus. So as we talk about the Republicans, let's talk about your own membership for just a moment and some progressives who are worried about this deal that the president has struck with Speaker McCarthy, that it gives away too much. They don't like the work requirements for SNAP and other federal assistance programs. What is your message to them with about 12 hours to go before that vote today?
Well, let's just take, for example, you mentioned the work requirement. The work requirement has been there since the early 90s. It goes up to 40, I think it's 49 now. What the president did here was to allow that to go up to 54. But the trade-off there was to expand the amount of people or categories of people who could come under this. People who are coming out of foster homes, trying to get settled. We aren't forcing them to go out and meet this requirement. They are exempted. Veterans, more than 100,000 additional veterans are being brought into this. They are being exempted. And people who are homeless. Now, those people that we are trying to bring in, they are not covered under the current work requirement. Though that we're raising it to 54, we are covering more people in it. So I think that's a pretty good trade-off. So, yes, if you take the soundbite, going from 49 to 54, and don't deal with the other things, then I can understand the concern. But I talked to a lot of people. Lauren Underwood is someone I consulted with very closely on this. Gwen Moore, who is not just one experience in working with this as a member of the Ways and Means Committee, but she's had real-life experiences. And she but she sent me a text the other day saying, the more I read about this, the more I study it, the better I feel about it. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm doing here when I support it.
Congressman, it's Jennifer Palmieri. I saw yesterday at the White House, Shalanda Young, who's the White House budget director, spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill as well. Talked about how, you know, if the House does pass the bill tonight, as we expect, that it will do so with a bipartisan governing majority. And she talked about how she knows a lot of the people on Capitol Hill in the House personally, understands where they're coming from. And when you are able to get past the extremes, you can pass bipartisan legislation legislation, and that's what's likely to happen here. Do you see any path where that might continue, or there might be other things that this is a crisis, but a manufactured crisis, but could McCarthy, Leader Jeffries build on this and do more with the bipartisan majority?
Absolutely. I think all of us know that we're about maintaining what is good and even great about this country. And that is how you do it, trying to find common ground. That's all bipartisanship is. That's all compromise is, trying to find common ground. And I do believe that if Speaker McCarthy and Leader Jeffries can get this thing across the finish line, and I think they will. I hope they do it in a bipartisan way, and I hope it will be instructive for everybody going forward. Where are we going to have a contest? We're going to try to win the elections next year, and they will try to win them as well. But when the elections are over, let's put that behind us, and the contest will be over. Let's look for compromise. Let's see what we can do to keep this country moving forward. We are not a perfect country. We should always be doing what is necessary to try to seek perfection, and that's what it's all about.
Congressman Clyburn, Al Sharpton, there have been concerns, as you just addressed, from some of the progressives around work requirements and other things, and I had those concerns. You explained it well. But give people a sense where we are 11 and a half, 12 hours away from the vote. If the president had been obstinate and let this go over the cliff, the people that we claim to be most concerned about would have been in a real disaster. I don't think a lot of people understand that if we allowed the country to go into default, the people at the bottom of the economic ladder would have been in a catastrophic place.
Absolutely. You're talking about people in need of Medicaid, people in need of Medicare. We're talking about people's Social Security checks. We're talking about veterans benefits. These are people who have given their all. Look, senior citizens didn't drop out of the sky. They made tremendous contributions to all of us being to where we are today. They're now in their golden years. They need their Medicare. We ought not do anything to ruin that. And the same thing with people on Medicaid. We forget that a lot of people on Medicaid, not just low-income people, but people living in nursing homes, these are people who have given their all, and we ought to be taking care of them. And so, no, we should not allow them to be jeopardized with their quality of life while we argue over political stuff. So, you know, I'm not a proponent of having a debt limit. I don't think we ought to have that at all. I've done the study on this. I understand Denmark may be the only other country, democracy that's got one. And even their debt limit is 3 times above what their budget is. So I don't know why we have this debt limit. I wish we'd just get this thing behind us, pass this bill tonight, and let's next week start working on getting rid of the debt limit altogether.
Assistant Democratic Leader Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, thank you very much for being on this morning.
Thanks for having me.